Welcome to this episode of B-Movie Chat. Video games are possibly the most unique art style ever created. Not only do they offer a visual environment similar to a film or television, they also offer an interactive experience absent from any other form of art in existence. In order to profit off this unique art style, film production companies will often attempt to create a movie version of a popular video game series. This often proves disastrous, as these films usually receive terrible reviews from fans of the original content, as well as general audiences alike. The question we're attempting to answer today is it possible to make a good film based off of a video game? Or will this attempt at deviating style inevitably prove inferior to the original? Joining us for this chat are the hosts of the podcast Writers of the Dawn, Matthew Wellman and David Stewart. Matt and David, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
It's fun to be here.
Oh, we're glad to have you on.
Yeah, thanks for joining, guys. So, movies based off video games. Just off the top of my head, I can't really think of any that have been good. The first one that pops in my head is the Super Mario Brothers movie.
I was just gonna say because when you first brought it up, that was the first one I thought about.
Yeah, they took the name Super Mario Brothers, cast two guys as the Super Mario Brothers, and then a movie came out at the other end.
What's funny is actually the Super Mario Brothers movie, there's a porn version of the Super Mario Brothers, and it's actually more faithful to the video game than the actual Super Mario Brothers mainstream movie.
Is there a guy at least dressed as a turtle?
I don't know, but Ron Jeremy played Mario. So
that makes sense. That's a good cast.
Yeah, I believe his name is not
anything else.
I believe his name is not Mario. It's just Mario. They were like, fuck this last name shit. You're just going to be Mario, and you're going to fuck the shit out of women. Like,
pretty much.
What's interesting is they had the animated series of Super Mario Brothers.
And the Super Mario Super Show. And Captain Lou Albano is actually Captain Lou Albano was an awesome Mario.
Mm-hmm. So I actually thought that the TV show, of course it was a kids show, and it was mostly animated, but that was fun. Like, I remember as a kid watching it.
The fan base was in the 80s, though.
Right,
an adult played Super Mario in the 80s.
Nailed it. So I don't know. They came out with this movie. I remember I saw it in theaters, no less. And of course, because I was, when did it come out? 87?
I thought it was the early 90s, like 93 or 94.
What is it? 93, you're right, 93. And I remember seeing this. And so how old was I? I was 9 years old at the time. So I was like, yeah, Super Mario Brothers. I liked it because I was 9, right? It's hard to not like something when you're 9. But man,
I don't know, man. I think I saw that Street Fighter movie, and God, I wanted to gouge my eyes out.
I still love the Street Fighter movie. It's so bad. I mean, unfortunately, like rest his soul, Raul Julia, that was his final performance. Like, and there's of course this conspiracy theory that. No, not that he killed himself, but the movie was so bad that it killed him to make it. Like
Bela Lugosi with Plan 9 from outer space.
Yeah, he gave up his life force in order for this movie to finish being made.
And then it turned out to be that.
And it's one of those.
The movie literally gave him cancer.
And it's one of those really bad things because
got AIDS from this movie.
The Street Fighter movie actually set up for a sequel. It was one of it's the first movie that I can remember actually having that Easter egg scene after the credits, where Raul Julia as M. Bison reaches up through the spoiler alert if you haven't fucking seen it in the last 20-something years, reaches up through the bricks or the cement, and it's like he's still alive and he's electrified now because he didn't have electrical powers in the movie, but M. Bison, the character in the video game, has the electrical powers.
Well, now Super Mario Brothers, the movie, actually sets itself up for a sequel as well. I don't know if you remember this.
Oh, I can imagine some Hollywood executives. You got to set up for a sequel. This is going to make us $1 billion.
It's like at the end, because the whole thing is like they're going underground and they find this. It's an underground dinosaur version of Manhattan. I think they called it Dino Hatton. It's really stupid. And
instead of the Mushroom Kingdom, like
10 out of 10 would be stupid again. And like something I think at the very end of the movie they like save the world or whatever, and then it's like space aliens come and it's like, oh my god, we got to go save the world again. Roll credits.
Yeah, I remember. It's like, oh, you're not going to believe this. Oh, I believe it. You believe it? It's like it was such bad dialogue.
Yeah,
I can't believe I remember that.
And then they pulled out like plunger guns or some shit.
Oh god.
Which I mean, that's actually next month for us is movies based on games month, and Super Mario Brothers is going to be the first movie that we review for July.
This is totally kind of. There's one I remember that had Jake Gyllenhaal in it, and I never saw it.
Prince of Persia.
Supposed to be based off Prince of Persia. I don't know if you guys saw it or not. I never saw it.
I was not a fan of the Prince of Persia games, so I had no inclination to see the movie. Just like the more recent, what's that game? Assassin's Creed.
Yeah,
there was an Assassin's Creed movie which I think won a bunch of Razzies or something. Yeah, it was released in December last year.
I guess I missed it.
I totally missed that one.
Yeah, it was released in theaters. Like, you don't see a lot of video game movies being released in theaters anymore, aside from the Resident Evil franchise, which is that particular franchise is done, but they're going to re-franchise Resident Evil for movies.
Of course they are.
The last I could talk a whole hour on that shit.
Oh, see, I love it's. That's one of my guilty pleasures. It's like the only movie series I've seen every movie from the Resident Evil live action series in theaters.
The thing about, I was actually going to say about the Resident Evil movies are probably the most successful video game adaptation I could think of in terms of actually having a movie come out at the other end.
Yeah.
Right. And I think the big problem is, so first of all, movie executives don't have any creativity, which is why we get video game adaptations. Yeah. So it's the same reason, like, why everything's, if there's a best-selling book, then it becomes a movie. It's because they can't get anyone to write good movies. So they wait till something is good somewhere else, and they're like, well, let's just make a movie out of that.
Well,
so
and
there's that.
It's funny when it comes to Resident Evil because it's one of the only video game series that has been successful in every branch of media that it's evolved into. I mean, there's a book series. There is a comic book series. There's the movie franchise. There's the main video game series. There's a lot of offshoots of the video game series. And in every one of those instances, it has been successful. And although the movies are... It's a roller coaster ride of, like, awesome and shit. And what the fuck are you even thinking? Which
There's zombies wearing mittens
we all know what was going through the mind of oh god, what's his name? Paul W.S. Anderson is what kind of tight-fitting clothing can I put my wife in?
And then want my wife in front of an audience.
And you could tell by the final chapter, the last Resident Evil movie, that he just was like, let's just get this done and close it off because she wore the same outfit. It covered her entire body the whole time.
What's even the point?
Now, when I saw the final chapter, I paid the 3D price. I saw it in theaters on opening day in 3D. There were 5 people in the theater. There were 2 gay couples, and there was me. And that was it.
I'm sorry I couldn't join you to make it like
3 gay couples, But yeah, like
I had to work.
I mean, it did better than Shia LaBeouf's newest movie in Europe, where one person went to see it over its entire theater run.
You earned $1 on it. Is that right?
That's actually a really, really good example of how you can take any fact and frame it in a way that tells a story, even if that story isn't quite truthful. So it's like one person bought a ticket to Shia LaBeouf's movie. It's like, well, they had it on in one screen, one showing. It was a straight to video movie. So the one time that they had it on screen, one dude showed up.
Yeah.
So it's like it wasn't intended for people to see in theaters, though. They're like, wasn't the intention?
I don't know. We went and saw the newest Dragon Ball Z movie in theaters. There was one showing in the Pittsburgh area, and it was sold out. Like,
yeah,
you know, that it's just because nobody likes Shia LaBeouf.
Well, yeah, I was going to say Shia LaBeouf is basically a meme at this point. So I think people just want to make fun of him.
Shia LaBeouf, I will never have respect for that man because he ruined Indiana Jones.
Oh, God.
So
no, he didn't ruin. No. A whole army of people ruined Indiana Jones.
That is true.
You can't lay that blame on Shia LaBeouf.
He was the
He's just
face
the guy
of
who had lines that were handed to him.
You know what else?
On this motorcycle and be a rebel and stuff, and he's like, "Okay, I'm getting paid for this, right?" And they're like, "Totally." Read this line. It's like, "I'm going to be a motorcycle mechanic," and Harrison Ford's like, "We're really having this scene? Like, this is happening?" And it's like, "Yes, it's happening."
You know what else Shia LaBeouf ruined?
Anything to say about it?
Shia LaBeouf also ruined Transformers. He also ruined Alfred Hitchcock's classic Rear Window.
Oh, yeah, they made that
fucking Disturbia film. Like Shia LaBeouf just destroys everything.
Shia LaBeouf here because I don't like him, but he hasn't ruined movies. He's been in bad movies.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying
just in general bad. Like,
I'm not saying he
would have been bad without him. Like,
I'm not saying he ruined the movie Transformers. I'm saying he ruined Transformers as a whole.
I think
like the entire franchise.
As a concept.
But hey, he will not
all the lines to accessing that concept from the Platonic realm severed when he stepped into the franchise.
I mean, at least at this point, Marky Mark is the lead star in the Transformers franchise, so there's always the hope that he's going to pull his cock out like in Boogie Nights, and just save everything. Like
we can only hope. I mean, for me, it's like you don't blame Beyonce for ruining pop music, but she's the one who's the face of it. So that's Shia LaBeouf to me.
Who's Beyonce?
Who's Beyonce? Oh, she's some chick.
Oh, okay.
Isn't she in Destiny's Child or something like that?
She was in Destiny's
was she part of TLC?
Like TLC, but with different people in it.
Yeah, basically.
But yeah,
and there's somebody who's laughing. It's like, you take that back. You take that back.
That's so
Beyonce's video was the greatest thing.
I love the Resident Evil movie franchise for as bad as it is, barring the third movie. The third movie is total shit. Let's have psychic powers involved.
And they were wearing mittens. I just want to throw out that we had zombies in mittens.
I'm trying to remember because I saw them in theaters too, and whatever the most recent one I saw is the one complaint I have about the franchise is the pacing is too fast. The pacing is so fast that there's tons of action and it gets you from point A to point B, but it's the
biggest problem I had with the final chapter, the last movie, is the fifth movie, which I think was that one Afterlife. I can't remember the titles all right now.
It's the one where Michelle Rodriguez comes back for no reason and dies again.
Yeah, where they kill Barry. And I'm like, what the fuck? Barry is the most badass character. But anyway, they leave off the fifth movie on a cliffhanger where they're all standing on top of the White House with like zombies and all kinds of monsters and stuff bearing down on the White House. And the final chapter opens up, and like Washington D.C. is like desolate and like this barren desert, and she like comes out of like a hatch in the top of the White House. Like, they don't show you what happened. They don't tell you what happened. They just kind of go like, they ambushed us. Oh, yeah. And that was it. That was the whole explanation. And I'm like what the fuck?
You should have seen it, guys. It was really awesome.
Like, it's like we're missing a whole movie in between the fifth and the sixth movies.
Yeah. So let's recap what happened, guys. Like, yeah, there were zombies and there was jumping and we shot them, and then like we're running and the helicopter crashed, and then we got in the helicopter, and it's like, yeah, we could have had that be a movie.
It's like
had that in the movie.
It was like the third Lord of the Rings movie, and like just with zombies and shit. It's like, but that wasn't cool to show.
But at the same time, Resident Evil, Capcom did make the CGI movies, which actually utilize characters from the video game in a much better capacity than the live-action films did.
So they're just thrown in the live-action films, like...
Yeah, they were kind of just like, hey, look, it's Chris. Hey, look, it's Jill.
My name is Leon. I'm going to be in the background for the rest of the movie. Bye.
Hey, look, I'm Barry. See, I've got the vest, but I don't look anything like him. Like, yeah.
I haven't seen any of those.
Yeah, I haven't seen them either.
But no, the CGI ones are actually really good, and they're really accurate to the video game series.
There was that CGI Final Fantasy movie they made.
Which one?
20 years ago.
There was a couple of them, actually.
I know there was...
Final Fantasy VII, whatever it's called.
Something Spirit.
Advent Children.
Advent Children was the one based on Final Fantasy VII.
The Spirits Within. Oh, my God.
That's the one, yeah.
That's okay. So have you guys seen Final Fantasy The Spirits Within?
I saw Advent Children. I haven't seen this.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen
Okay, so Final Fantasy The Spirits Within was marketed as a quote-unquote Final Fantasy movie. When you think of and it was like it was like the ghosts, and they had like laser guns, and they were like on this planet, and like the ghosts were in a different dimension that their weapons couldn't affect, but the ghosts could like kill the people by touching them, and it had absolutely nothing to do with anything Final Fantasy related, other than like it was made by SquareSoft.
Like anime characters, like.
Yeah. I remember thinking that same thing. Like, what does this have to do with anything? This is just Square Enix masturbating onto the silver screen. Is that what's happening?
Yeah, I mean,
I guess I'm going to buy a ticket.
And that was the thing. Like, I mean, I literally went and saw it at the Dollar Theater. We had a theater where tickets were $1 to see movies, and I felt that I overpaid to see this movie.
Well, that's like we just watched the Warcraft movie a couple weeks ago, and we Redboxed it for $2, and I'm like, we overpaid for this movie.
Yeah, I saw the trailer to that. I'm like, this will not be good. There is no possible way this will be good.
Oh my God! But the fans were just sucking the cock of Duncan Jones in like this entire movie. I'm like, what the fuck were you watching? They're just like, how could you say this was bad? I'm like, I watched it. That's how I said it's bad. I watched every agonizing second of that movie.
And there's
I remember at one point Halkia walks by on the stairs and she's just like, I've only watched 10 minutes of this movie as I'm walking back and forth, but this is the worst movie I've ever seen. And
that's my wife. My wife is like walking up the stairs. She goes, this is the worst movie I've ever seen. Like, wow.
There's a movie franchise actually that a lot of people don't realize is based off a video game. Based off the video game series Dungeon Siege, there's a set of movies called In the Name of the King. And it's In the Name of the King, a Dungeon Siege tale. It's actually based off the video game series. I've never actually seen any of them, but I know at least one of them stars Jason Statham, so it must be amazing.
Really?
Yeah. I think it was the first one. There's like 3 of them.
But I found this out. So yeah, just let me interject, and then I'll let you keep talking. So I did this review a while back on this movie called Curse the Dragon Slayer, this B movie. Fantasy B movie. The producer of the movie came by my YouTube channel and talked to me, right? And I guess the movie was originally based on this video game called Saga, which I'd never even heard of the game. And so they like originally made this movie to tie in with it. And the intro CG scene is just from this game that I never even heard of. But it got retitled by the distributor when they were, it was originally called Saga: The Shadow Cabal. And it got retitled like 8 times by different distributors. But yeah, apparently that was a video game movie.
Yeah, there's I believe there's a game on the PlayStation 1. It's Saga Frontier, or maybe it's on the PlayStation 2. I guess that's the sequel to Saga. It would make sense.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think actually it might have originally been for the Sega Saturn.
But yeah, I mean,
now I'm remembering.
I do particularly remember an RPG called Saga Frontier.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably it. And so it was based on that universe, but they wrote an original screenplay or whatever for it. And I guess the producer was like, we were filming off of a first rough draft and rewriting as we went based on what we do. And I'm like, you know what? The movie didn't come out all that bad considering the budget. There was like they should have had me to tell them how to do armor because the armor was stupid, but like it really wasn't that bad considering they made it for like a couple of $100,000, I think tops, including like advertising and stuff. It was really cheaply made movie.
But I mean, when you think about when you talk about things looking and sounding stupid, I know it's not. Well, technically it is. There have been video games based off of Dungeons and Dragons, but the Dungeons and Dragons movie is one of the worst adaptations of a game.
I was gonna say,
there's actually a scene where the dwarf character is describing dwarf sex, like male and female, and how the male dwarves loves to pull on the female's beard, like to hear her scream, like.
Oh, man.
And I'm like, was this seriously necessary, like for the plot line? Like,
I mean, how would you know, like later, like why anything was going on? It was integral to the plot.
But at the same time, when I watched Lord of the Rings, and somebody said, like, how do you tell a female dwarf from a male dwarf, and someone said that, like, the female's beard is smaller or something, like it made me laugh even more
like
because
It's like,
just had flashbacks to that.
It's not all no dwarf females. And then Aragorn just kind of mimes at Eowyn. He's like, it's the beard.
Oh, man.
I'm looking up that movie right now, The Name of the King, and yeah, there's like 4
Jesus
in
Christ
total, I think. They all have really bad reviews, but yeah, the first one has Jason Statham, and now I want to watch this.
So I don't know. I guess the big question is why are video game movies always so bad?
Well,
Like,
I know why, and it's
I
because
have some ideas.
it's a total marketing thing because
exactly.
you're trying to play into that market that already exists and make them buy something else. Which, I mean, it's smart.
It's something that goes along too with. Is it popular right now? It's popular right now. Let's put something out as quickly as possible to capitalize on that. So they're not looking about quality. They're looking about, here's the name of it. We're cashing in on that name.
Well, and you know what else is a problem too? Is in the video game industry itself. Like Dragon Age 2 is a great example. Because Dragon Age Origins was such an amazing game. They rushed out Dragon Age 2, and it was a huge steaming pile of garbage, right? So it's not just movies that happens in, but that's a really great point that, like, if it's hot right now, we want to capitalize on it as quickly as we can.
They do that with books. I think it's also just Hollywood has no creativity anymore. Like, they're hedging so many bets on so many levels, and it's so devoid of any kind of ability to think of new stuff that they have to pull something from another medium, and it's whatever's popular. It's like, oh, Assassin's Creed's popular. It's amazing to me if they came out with an Assassin's Creed game last year that it took them this long. It should have been like second game. They should have been like, we need to come out with a movie yesterday.
No, what's amazing in that end is Prince of Persia, because the Prince of Persia. I haven't seen a new Prince of Persia game in fucking like 8 years or something.
That movie also came out like quite a lot.
Yeah, but I think it came out like a year or two after the final game came out for it, like
something like that. Yeah.
But I mean, again. And I keep going back to the Resident Evil franchise. You look at the Resident Evil franchise, at least for the final chapter, the last movie that was released, they made it to correlate with the release of the newest Resident Evil game. Resident Evil 7 came out on January, don't quote me, like 16th or something. And Resident Evil, the final chapter of the movie, came out like on the 23rd. It came out like a week later. Like, they did it so that they came out really close together to capitalize on that.
Yeah, I think part of it's like the fact that when you're playing a video game, it's an immersive kind of situation. Like you're the character, and then if you're watching it from the outside, it's just kind of stupid. It's like, wow, this is what's going on. Like,
which brings
I always think of I think of like this kind of slightly off topic, but sort of relates to it. In the Hobbit movies, the second Hobbit movie, they have this whole thing where they go and turn the dragon gold, and like it's like a video game I can't play. I'm like, this is fucking annoying.
Yeah.
And then
it was also that scene made me and my wife cringe so much. Like, what are they like? That movie was nonstop cringe. And then when they're trying to, they had this whole thing like, we're going to steal the treasure, right? Which is why there's only 14 of us. Let's go attack this dragon that literally wiped our race off face of the fucking earth.
And now
I've got a good feeling about this guy.
That brings up a whole nother movie, like when you say an immersive experience, that tried something to make you immersed in it. Doom the movie, starring none other than Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, where they had
Forgot about that one.
they had the, and I think on the on the DVD release it was an extended edition, and there was like it was like a half hour of point of view footage, like from The Rock's point of view, like killing demons and shit.
That's
and
cool in a
oh my
video
god,
game, and not
it was
so much like a.
it was abominable. Like,
Well, how can point of view Doom movie be so bad when point of view porn is so good, right?
and again,
so interact.
the Doom movie was
Those
made.
two mediums don't cross. and actually, the interactivity I think is the big reason. So, like you mentioned, the market kind of dictates that they don't want to invest a lot of time making something good, but also the medium doesn't translate well in general because it's you doing something when you're playing a game. And certain kind of gameplay styles will never translate to a movie. Like Elder Scrolls. Elder Scrolls is about you wandering around, finding things, like doing stuff that you feel like doing. And if you were to put that on a screen, you could, I guess, tell a story from Elder Scrolls, but you can't tell the gameplay of Elder Scrolls. That wouldn't make any sense whatsoever. It would just be terrible.
Well, and it also comes down to the creation process, because when you're designing a game, you have to start from the gameplay. And if you're starting from a storyline perspective, you're kind of already off the point. And especially as I've gotten older, when I was a kid, I was way more into the storylines of games. At this point, I'm just like, I'm full Maddox mode. I'm just like, skip the story. Let me get to killing people, please. That's the point of the game. And like, I've noticed myself, like, I was really into RPGs when I was a kid, really heavy storyline stuff. And now I'm just like, cutscene, I'm going to go get a drink. I don't care. I don't care what you have to say. I just want to go kill people. So that's, and you can't convey that in a movie, right? It doesn't make any sense. So you're never going to get the same emotional reaction that you do from a game, because you're actually experiencing it, and you're making the decisions, and you're doing the actions that are causing the enjoyment. Whereas a movie is a passive medium where you have to just sit back and watch and see what happens. So it's like, when you get past the marketing and understand why they exist, and then you look at why they all suck, well, that's pretty much why. And I can't, like you were saying, Resident Evil somehow did it, and I think it's because it has a defined place in like genre science fiction horror. You know what I mean?
I think the horror genre helps a lot because the original Resident Evil game, I remember being really scary when I was a kid. And it's because it used the tropes of horror movies really well. Yeah. They built up a lot of tension. There'd be a point where, like, you'd see zombies break through a fence, and you'd be like, how long is it going to be till they get me? You'd hear the zombies crawling just off screen. That fixed camera in that first Resident Evil game made it really scary to me. Because you didn't know when the zombies were going to, like, finally get on the screen where you could try to shoot them.
And also, with the Resident Evil movie, it didn't take the same approach as many video game movies, where it was like the original Resident Evil movie, where it said, we're going to use Umbrella, we're going to use the zombies, we're going to use the T-virus, but we're going to give you new characters, we're going to give you a different storyline. Like, it's going to take place in the same place.
That's a really good point.
And I think that's what solidified the movie, the series, like, differently. And then, like, as the series went on, they were like, oh, look, we're going to throw this character in, and oh, look, we're going to have Nemesis here, and we're going to throw this character in here, and oh, look, it's Claire Redfield.
Like Easter eggs and stuff.
Oh, hey, look, zombies with mittens.
But, like, they originally they had actually hired George Romero to write the Resident Evil game movies, and they said, when they read his draft, they're like, this is stupid, and they fired him. So they,
wow.
So that says something about their process of it. I mean, I guess it worked, but
and the movie took more of an action-y approach than a horror approach. It was an action movie with horror elements, which actually
Resident Evil in name only mostly,
which they actually took and used for the game Resident Evil 4. It was an action game with horror elements. The same with Resident Evil 5 and 6, and even to an extent 7 is more. It's an action game with horror elements. In my opinion.
Yeah, it kind of deviated from the survivor horror kind of thing.
Which makes sense because as I think the majority of the gamer demographic is 30 plus at this point. If I'm any indication, I am sick of story. I want action. So like that explains why right there to me.
Yeah, the other thing about a lot of video game translations is you're translating from a medium that it's about the gameplay, not the story, and there may not be a story there. Like, I wanted to see this Prince of Persia movie because I was interested in what story they would write. Because the game, like the Sands of Time game, is you're invading the city, you get this time dagger, you platform for 12 hours, and that's the end of the game.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's it. That's the game. There's no story. What's the story of Super Mario? Save the princess.
You jump on mushrooms.
Story. So why would you turn that into a movie? And it's like I'm certain that they handed it to whoever.
Apparently, because you could afford.
Well, how I turn this into a movie? And
I mean,
like,
I can tell you.
Crime boss. I'll have some small-headed dudes.
They were like, okay, we can afford Dennis Hopper for a movie. What can we do? Like, I think that was the whole
their starting point.
That was the starting point. Is we can afford Dennis Hopper. What do we do? And someone was like, let's make a Super Mario Brothers movie. And they were like, okay, awesome. Let's go with it. Like, I truly believe that it did not start out as, let's make a Super Mario Brothers movie. Who can we cast? They were like, hey, we can afford Dennis Hopper. Let's make a movie. Like,
the Street Fighter movie had Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah.
They got, like, the guy to be in the Street Fighter movie. They got the guy from Bloodsport. They're like, we've got to get the guy from Bloodsport in this, and they got it.
Well, and
then they made the movie. Then they made that movie.
Here's the best part, is Street Fighter the movie is based off the video game Street Fighter. However, there is a Street Fighter the movie, the video game, on the Sega Saturn. So there's a video game based off of a movie that's based off of a video game.
It's got the images of, like, Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like Mortal Kombat, you know, like there's photos of real people.
They motion captured the actors and actresses from the movie, Street Fighter the movie, and made Street Fighter the movie the video game.
Oh my god!
Like
that is the AIDS of cancer right there. I have all of it.
It's on my list of must-own video games at some point in my life.
Street Fighterception.
Like my dad is my own grandfather, and my mom's my aunt. You know.
Okay, but
totally senseless.
Speaking of Street Fighter, the movie, the video game, which was released for the Sega Saturn, I have to talk about another video game released for the Sega Saturn. House of the Dead. And how can we talk about video game movies based on video games, and not mention one of the most notorious directors of all time, Uwe Boll?
Oh, God. The guy who, like, challenges people to boxing fights if they don't like his movie.
You know, he made House of the Dead, based off of the House of the Dead video game series. He made the movie Postal, based off the Postal video game series. As a matter of fact, Postal, the DVD, included a copy of Postal 2, the video game.
I remember Postal.
He made Blood Rain.
That was the coolest game to have because it was banned from all the stores.
Yeah, and
like,
actually,
run around like pissing on people.
Hillary Clinton was like, "We got to get these games off the shelves, or they're going to turn kids into killers." I'm like, I think there's something else that's turning kids into killers, but I'm not going to say what it is because then that might be politically incorrect.
I don't know if you ask Michael Moore, it's white privilege that turns people into killers, but I mean that's just Michael Moore.
Yeah, so anyway, it's like we had the game, and there's no story to the game. Like, it's just kill people, right? And every so often, somebody comes out with a game like that, and people just get really upset that there's no story, there's no point to the killing. It's like, the story is always bad anyway, so we just took it out.
Well, and it's funny because you talk about games like that. For the original PlayStation, there was a game Carmageddon, which actually was banned from release. You could only get like bootleg copies of it, and they actually
I had it.
For the PS4 they released Carmageddon. Like they actually finally released it. Yeah, nice. You can get a physical copy of it. Go to Walmart. It's like Carmageddon Extreme or like re-released or some fucking subtitle to it. But yeah, but no, I absolutely love House of the Dead and Postal, which are two movies. I love the game House of the Dead as well. I've never played Postal.
Played the arcade game for hours, but
I have the movies by Uwe Boll, and they're amazing. They're horrible. They're terrible. They are god-awful pieces of shit, but they are so fun to watch.
Hey, he's going to hear this recording. He's going to challenge you to a boxing fight.
But I'm saying I love his movies, and I would recommend anybody to watch them because it's just hilarious and ridiculous at the same time. I mean, and I've seen videos of Postal being played. I know he uses a lot of elements of the game in the movie. And also, Postal was a controversial game, so the movie was made to be a controversial movie as well.
No one remembers the movie. They just remember the game.
Dude, I remember the movie.
Go around pissing on people.
He's got to fight Uncle Dave, who like has this terrorist regime of some shit that he like created because he wants babes dressed in bikinis around him all the time, and he stuffs cats on his guns as silencers, and oh man, it's awesome. It's terrible.
Forgot about the cat silencer.
Yeah, the cat silencer. But I mean, and then going to his House of the Dead. I mean, literally, the scene transitions for the movie are clips of people playing of like the video game where like you've got the zombies on screen and the gunshots and the ammo counter on the side with the bullets like coming off, and it's like, what the fuck is that even doing in this movie? It makes no sense to be here, but it's in here, and
But it is.
Yeah.
It's just that fan service, which you see so much in these video game movies, and it destroys the medium.
Yeah. So here's the problem with fan service, because we saw it in the Warcraft movie big time, is that we make this movie based on a video game. You're like, we're going to sell this movie to people who like this video game, and so you make it. The thing is that if you make a good movie that like doesn't do enough fan service, the fans will get pissed about it. They'll be like. And it happened. I remember it happened with the X-Men movie. People were like, "Why wasn't Wolverine wearing his Wolverine costume?" And it's like because yellow striped spandex looks retarded on a physical human being.
No one is going to take him seriously.
I'm still pissed about what they did to Gambit in the fucking Wolverine Origins movie.
I haven't seen that one yet, but
it has the worst green screen effect of all time. You need to see it.
Oh man, yeah, people were mad. They were like, "Oh my god!" Everyone was calling him Logan, not Wolverine, and he wasn't wearing his trademark costumes.
Why are his claws bones? They're supposed to be metal.
Like that was a great decision. It's like we want the story, we want the powers, we want this. We don't need a dude in yellow spandex. Like Cyclops, where's his blue spandex outfit with the crisscrossing yellow belts with pouches on them, pouches everywhere.
He's got to put his laser eye ammo somewhere, right?
Yeah. That's the thing from like 90s comic books are themselves a weird trope.
He like, converts sunlight into I-beam energy. He doesn't need to store it anywhere. It's stored in his body.
I mean, it's like if you take most of like comic book movie like concepts and like really put them into real life, they sound stupid because they're meant to be in comic form where you can like take each issue, but like. Especially like the long-going ones that like have all this like deep history and stuff. Most of it's stupid, but like when you try to put it into a movie, it's like, all right, we need to cut out like half of this stuff at least because it doesn't translate well to movies.
And a lot of people have a lot of problems with X3: The Last Stand. My biggest problem with that film actually happens to be where they show Scott's eyes, Cyclops, and he has green eyes, where actually his eyes are brown, and you actually get to see them in the comic and in the cartoon series, because if he's underground for long enough and doesn't absorb sunlight, he can't use his eye beams. So when he's captured by the Morlocks, he can't use his power because he doesn't have enough sunlight, and you actually get to see his eyes are brown. They're not green. Get your facts fucking straight before you make the goddamn movie.
He's like a mole person with like laser vision.
So yeah, it's impossible. So like that was the downfall of the Warcraft movie. There was no possibility to make a good Warcraft movie within the Warcraft franchise and the Hollywood system, because if you had made the movie and it had been good and you discarded the retarded armor and all that kind of stuff, then people who were Warcraft fans would have been like, it's not Warcraft. Why doesn't it look like this game I love? Why doesn't it? Where are the Murlocs? Where are the this or that? Why doesn't this look cool enough? Why did the orcs look like they could physically exist rather than giant cartoonish beings? Right? Like it would have been impossible to satisfy the fans. At the same time, as soon as you do all that, if you go full bore, like we're going to make it exactly true to the game, then what happens is a bad movie comes out because those mediums don't end up working well. Like Warcraft is very cartoonish, like World of Warcraft is very cartoonish in its appearance by design. That's the way it's visually designed. So why would you want to copy that aesthetic in the real world? It's clearly not meant to look real.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think a lot of it is also like when you have a video game, you can be playing that game for like 20 plus hours if it's depending on how long it is, and you're trying to condense that into 2 hours. It's probably not going to work.
Now here's a movie that I'm not sure many people know of, because it was included on the special edition version of Dead Rising 2. If you bought the Zombrex edition, it actually came with a Japanese movie based off of the game. And it was literally just these like Japanese people hanging out in a warehouse using like drugs to prevent them from becoming zombies for like an hour and a half. It went nowhere. It did nothing. And then like somebody broke into the warehouse and this and that, and it was abysmal. But then I guess Crackle, who's a free movie service, actually went and made movies based off of the Dead Rising game series. I remember watching the first one, and it was actually pretty fun. They based it off of the third game where you like actually like duct tape shit together to kill zombies. And yeah, people just kind of like make ridiculous weapons and this and that, and you know, it was fun because they abandoned that whole like let's try to tell a good story, and they were like, what's this game really about? Killing zombies with whatever you can find at hand. So they made this journalist character, and they were like, hey, we're going to put him in a zombie zone, and he's going to have to fight his way out. And we're going to have people who are psychotic, like the psychopaths in the video game, and we're not going to really like concentrate on character development or storyline or anything. It's just going to be like, let's have some good old-fashioned zombie violence. And I think that's what makes a good video game movie is instead of trying to make it something that it's not, like, what is the main focal point of this game? Let's focus on that. And that's something like the Super Mario Brothers movie you couldn't do because what was the game was basically jump.
On turtles.
Yeah. And you can't translate that to a movie well.
It wouldn't look good having a fat Italian guy jumping on turtles for 2 hours.
You can do it in a cartoon.
You see them try it because they had those like rocket boots or whatever, and
oh god,
it's like why they don't have rocket boots in the game. They just jump, right? Yep. But they tried to make the fantasy of the world too real. Like we have to explain the physics of this world. It's like no, fuck off. Let's just jump on turtle heads. Like
there's a really good point there, which is that I don't think because movies are a visual medium, I don't think you have to have a really heavy ABC plot story to have a good movie. If you watch the original Night of the Living Dead, which I consider a great movie and super effective, there's no inciting incident. It's missing all these things that you would think would be necessary for a story. The zombies rise from the grave, and then it's scary, and then at the end, the main guy gets killed, by on accident. And that's the whole thing. Is like that. The movie, there's not like a strong sense of plot. You don't have to have a traditional strong sense of plot to have a movie work. But I think as soon as you take a video game and you say we're going to make a movie out of it, somebody comes along and is like, well, what's the story? What's the ABC? What are the three stories that we got to have?
It's almost like an encounter. So if you look at it as like as part of a video game encounter, and this again, Resident Evil did this. They're just like, well, we're going underground and we're going to go do this thing. It's just an encounter. It's almost like a single level, and you do the level. You watch someone else do the level.
Make it really good, and really you use your cinematography techniques to have an effect. And so with Resident Evil, I mean, because it's kind of action horror. There's lots of things you could do in horror in a movie to have a strong effect that aren't tied into the story. Where it's like you hear boom, you hear a noise and someone looks, like all those little cinematography and all those little movie making techniques don't have to do with the story. They have to do with the medium of movies, and you should use that medium well. You should use the medium of movies well.
Yeah,
definitely. It's like, I definitely agree with you where like a lot of them kind of, they try to make things overly complicated where they shouldn't. Like, I ended up seeing that Angry Birds movie and just thinking,
I saw
about
that.
like flinging like birds at pigs, and this is about like I mean, it's essentially about that, but I'm like, I don't care to know about the pig and his backstory or the bird and why he's angry. I guess.
What's funny to me is the story was actually secretly. I think this is proof that Hollywood actors like are subpar when I got to peg like the average IQ of Hollywood actors at about like 85 because they didn't realize this movie was about immigration.
Yeah,
and welfare. So they just acted it out without realizing it's like, you guys didn't see how this was like a parable about immigration.
I was thinking that while watching that. I'm like, wow, this is, if you look at it one way, this is a strong argument against like immigration and like different cultures like invading a country and everything. But I'm like, it's got to be by accident, but I kind of want to believe that somebody in the writing room is laughing their ass off while he's like,
like
really
they just tricked everyone.
Yeah, and the people who are in the movie, the actors in the movie are like, they're all like super hippy dippy liberal types, you know. I didn't understand that they would. I'm like, you guys had to have understood what the script was about, right?
See, then the next day they're like, oh, Trump is Hitler, you know. It's like, oh, well, let's make this movie that's not about immigration.
Yeah.
Then you know,
like directly supporting his entire platform.
and then like within the last couple of days, you have Johnny Depp saying, "When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?"
See, I'm still wondering.
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah, he did.
Yes, he did.
Oh man, it's amazing.
Yeah, I just saw that today when I was at the gym. I couldn't believe that. I was like, oh my god.
I'm not sure if he's just stupid and doesn't realize like history, or if it was meant to be a bad joke that didn't work well.
Well, again, Hollywood actors, 85 IQ. I mean, I think that's pretty accurate.
Yeah, I could have to see that. I think even 85 is being generous.
Yeah. I was going to say, you know, if you're going to make a good video game movie, like if you're going to make an Elder Scrolls movie, what you got to do is you got to take the setting and just write a story that exists in that setting.
Yeah, and have nothing to do with because again, don't take characters that people love already. Make new characters that other people can love. And that was one of the problems I had with the Warcraft movie was you took all these characters who people already knew, who already had you already had an emotional connection with them if you were part of that gamosphere, and you couldn't make people happy doing that. Like I can't see it being possible because you're always going to piss someone off because you don't get the lore exactly right, or you don't feel like they were cast correctly, or they didn't do this precise thing in the lore. They did this other thing, and had you just taken characters that were orcs and or humans and had nothing to do with the canon of the world,
yeah, if they made it about some peons, you know, if it was about like, if it was more true to the World of Warcraft experience, it actually wouldn't have been about Lothar or Blackhand or any of these guys. It wouldn't have been about them at all. It would have been about, the main characters would have been grunts, like trying to survive in this world, and you would have learned about the world through their story, not through Doomhammer's story. And that's how you experience story in World of Warcraft. You don't experience it in a linear fashion. You don't experience story at all. You experience lore, and the story is your character's progress towards whatever goals you want. You know, and like culminating in you killing Cthulhu or someone like that. Which is a really satisfying emotional experience that takes 20 plus days of your life to get to. Let's do that in 2 hours, guys.
Makes sense.
Well,
yeah, sure.
Well, one again that I think was at least moderately successful was the Tomb Raider franchise. I mean, Tomb Raider had.
Well, that's because they put Angelina Jolie in like shorts in a tight fitting T-shirt. I mean,
like hot pants.
But again, what is the game about? That's what the game is about.
Yeah,
the game is about looking at Lara Croft, animated Lara Croft shooting guns with her tank top and shorts.
and then the
punching dinosaurs.
The early PC versions had a mod you could download or implement yourself, which would they called it quote unquote nude Raider because it would be Lara Croft with no clothes. It was
just the clothes and the tone that the character
there was no nipple or no any distinguishing factors that it's a fememe body. It was just literally like this peach tone polygonal
Like
body
12
form, like
12 polygons making up her entire body.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
and they were like,
again,
"Oh my
like,
God, this is the most awesome thing! Look, she's naked."
What's the game about? The game was about this female protagonist. She was hot and she kicked ass, right? Well, that's pretty much what the movie's about too. And at least the first one, that's pretty much it, as far as I remember. It's just her dungeon diving, basically.
Yeah, what was Gone in 60 Seconds about? People loved that movie when it came out, and it was like, we got to steal some cars. It's just about people driving cars fast. There was no plot.
Well, that's like Fast and Furious.
Each kiss Angelina Jolie at some point. You're like, okay, where's the car?
Well, that's like Fast and Furious. It's like the first one's just about them racing cars. I guess there's a subplot. Then they make like 10 other ones, and it's like, okay, they lost the plot like somewhere within the second film or something like that, because it's just, like now they're I don't know, the Rock's there.
They're
for
like
some reason.
CIA agents or some shit.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Well,
They took a sharp 90-degree angle to a ramp that had a pool of sharks, and they just jumped all of them.
Now, speaking of angles here, I want to pull a 180 here and go from movies based on video games to video games based off of movies.
Oh,
okay, yeah.
I think they're even worse. They're
usually so bad.
I'm
it
not
used to be a joke in the 90s, like, okay.
I'm not sure if we have enough time to cover that.
Run away.
But I mean, just it really sparked to me when we were talking about X-Men and Wolverine Origins, because I always refer to, because there's a video game based off of the movie Wolverine Origins, which I like to refer to as Hugh Jackman the game, because in essence all you are is Hugh Jackman killing people. But yeah, I mean, there's so many video games based off of movies.
I remember when I was a kid, I was playing the Men in Black video game for like the I think it was like the N64. I rented it from Blockbusters, which is how old it was. And I'm like, it was for the week. I'm like, I'm going to rent a game, Sure, why not? I saw
and then you end up renting like Batman Forever.
Yeah, and it's like, oh my God, I can't believe I wasted my like one rental on this shitty game. It's like, oh my God, it's so bad.
It's one of those interesting things is that when you go from video games to movies, you're going from a smaller market to a bigger market. And when you're going from movies to video games, you're going from a bigger market to a smaller market. So your hope is that, like, everybody's seen Jurassic Park. So we can get a lot of people in the smaller market to buy Jurassic Park, like pretty much everybody. It's kind of a slam dunk, and you know exactly how you're going to do it.
And it's funny specifically with Jurassic Park, because Jurassic Park was one of those video games where, depending on what system you got it for, it was completely different.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
The port was completely different.
The Super Nintendo
I like the Genesis one, even though it was retardedly hard. It's one of the hardest games I ever played, was that Jurassic Park game for Genesis.
Yeah, the Genesis one was a side-scrolling shooter. The one for the Super Nintendo was a top-down like adventure exploration game, more akin to like the fucking Goof Troop game.
Well, and I'm trying to think, Sega Genesis used a lot of arcade ports, whereas NES didn't, or SNES used they usually
Nintendo didn't make arcade cabinets that Sega did, so Sega already had the arcade cabinets, and they could just easily translate them. The other one that did a ton of those was Neo Geo, but the Neo Geo was literally the arcade hardware. And it was the same. The difference was with the Neo Geo, you had 4 game slots. So the Neo Geo arcade cabinets you could load 4 games into. At home, just have 1 game slot.
Well,
more arcade games.
If we're going to talk about movies that were made into games, we have to talk about the worst video game of all time.
What's that?
E.T.
Oh God!
E.T.
Believe it or not,
they actually found
E.T. in the Arizona desert because it was so bad.
It turned out to be true. I thought that was a myth for
Am I the only person here who actually owns and has played a copy of E.T. the game?
I've played it, but
no, I don't, and I remember a friend of mine had a
Atari 2600.
Had an Atari, and I was busy playing Warheads when he brought home E.T. and I remember seeing it and I was like, I'm going to pass. I'm going to go home. And I never played it. But I remember they made there was this animated series on the TV channel G4 called Code Monkeys.
Oh, I love that show.
And yeah, one of the first episodes is about this ET game. And how it was as bad as it was. Like, I thought that it was just so brilliant that they built a narrative around why this game was so bad. It's like,
it's like, oh, he had to catch, it's like, oh, you have to collect Reese's Pieces in the game. And so, like, on an Atari, how do you represent a Reese's Pieces piece?
Orange.
It's like 1 pixel. It's like a 1 pixel somewhere. You got to get that 1 pixel.
Yeah.
It was a great show.
Man.
The only thing I remember for that show is the Cock Goblin episode.
Oh, now
like making fun of him.
It's like, he's got a nemesis. He's a Black Knight. He's the big black cock goblin.
But yeah,
that show, I loved that show. The first season, I loved the first season of it. The second season got way too heavy in the pot.
Bro, my blood is showing, bro.
Bro, my blood is showing.
There are so many games based off of movies. I think that could go on for twice as long.
The question is, are there good ones? Because it used to be a big joke that licensed games were really bad.
Well, and here's the thing that I
would
love to do before actually talking about it. They just released on the PlayStation 4 a brand new Friday the 13th video game.
Oh my God, is it as bad as the one for like the Nintendo?
I have no idea.
Oh my God.
There are no pictures of it. There's no videos of it. Like, I don't know anything about it other than it's Friday the 13th, the video game, and it's like $15 or some shit.
Well, when you get a game that's based off a movie, you're basically playing another game that just has like movie characters filled in for the other ones.
As a matter
of fact, do that with cartoons. Like,
now, wasn't there?
There have been like a bunch of SpongeBob games, all these other ones. It's just Mario, basically. Essentially, you're jumping up and
then
down.
There's like
you just reskinned it.
There's like Saw the video game, which I think Saw the video game was like a fucking fighting game. Like, they just had all the different characters from Saw or something.
Boxing. It was like Jigsaw.
I honestly can't remember. I never played it, but I swear, like, I look at the back of the box and it looks like a fucking fighting game. Like, you have Obby from Saw 2 fighting fucking the guy chained to the toilet from Saw 1. Like,
in all seriousness, I can't think of a good game that was based on a movie. I really can't think of one right now. The only one that's kind of almost there is, remember they had those Matrix games?
Yeah,
Enter the Matrix.
I was going to bring up.
Enter the Matrix, yeah, which wasn't the movie, right? It was it was like a different thing that was kind of the side stories to the movie. And the gameplay wasn't very good, but it was different, and so it's hard to know where to put that one.
Well, part of the reason the gameplay wasn't so good was because when the first Matrix movie came out, and that bullet time thing was such a hit, like, video games picked that up instantly, and they were we got to put this in
Max Payne and stuff.
So, like, I'm trying to remember the first game that I played that had that bullet time thing in it, and I think it was that cowboy game,
Red Dead Revolver.
Yes, Red Dead Revolver. And I was like, yes, this is so much fun. And so when Matrix, the licensed game, came out, they had this thing, and suddenly they were too slow to market to make it revolutionary, to make it even matter, right? So I do think that game was kind of okay, but they were too slow to make the game matter in any kind of way. And talking about Friday the 13th, I'm pretty sure Friday the 13th is just a reskinned version of PlayerUnknown Battlefield. But one person is Freddy Krueger and killing everyone else. Everyone else is just trying to survive.
Well, there's actually a video game coming out this month or next month. It's called Survive Till Dawn or something like that on the Xbox One and the PS4. And it literally, the concept of it is you are a teen trying to survive until dawn from a serial killer, or you are the serial killer trying to kill all the teens before dawn.
A noble cause.
Yeah. I'm actually curious, and I would like to get my hands on that to actually try it out.
I also want to throw out, like, most of the time, at least from what I can tell, when video games based on movies come out, they're normally coming out around Christmas time, so it's like, I'm going to buy this for my kid because they like the movie. It's like,
I do have to say,
Grandma.
I believe there is at least one great video game based on a movie, and that is Batman Returns for the SNES.
Yes, Yes, it was basically Final Fight. It was Final Fight Batman edition.
Except you're Batman and you're beating the shit out of clowns. Like,
great.
it's like
It was great. Yeah, I
it's
remember
so
that
satisfying
game
in the first stage when you grab a clown and you throw him up to the top of the screen and he shatters the glass and you hear like that. Like that terrible sound effect of breaking glass. It's so satisfying. I love it. I love that game. That is one of my favorite games for the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, I do remember that game very, very fondly. I'm having a hard time remembering other ones that were actually good. You know, like you could possibly make a point with like Lord of the Rings Online or Shadow of Mordor, but those are like based on the entire Tolkien mythology.
Yeah.
Even the Lord of the Rings games, like based off of the movies that were for the Xbox and the PlayStation 2, those weren't bad games.
They weren't great either.
They weren't great. But they did try to mix elements of RPG and action. As you got experience and had to like level up your character between stages or whatever, or give them new abilities. I think they did a fairly good job of trying to do things the right way. It wasn't the highest quality game, but it was certainly better than a lot of things out there.
Well, speaking of that, we got to talk about missed opportunities, because what would have been a greater game than a good Transformers game?
Oh my gosh, fighting robots.
Like, yeah, fighting robots, but like, there isn't a good Transformers game, but I can tell you there was a bad Transformers game.
I know there are plenty of bad Transformers movies, but
the only Transformers movie is the one where Megatron kills Optimus Prime. That's the only true Transformers movie.
Was basically a video game. Wishing to be a video game the whole time. Yeah. You know, you watch it, you're like, oh yeah, that would be great.
If I was controlling this,
good Godzilla games. Yeah. I'm waiting for SimCity the movie to come out.
Oh god,
SimCity the movie to come out.
Wait, wow. Sin City?
That movie.
I hope it's like in comic form and everything, like all the cutscenes and everything. I kind of see that.
Wait, like Sin City the movie starring Bruce Willis?
Yeah, the one with
Sim
SimCity.
Where you're simulating.
Yeah. Oh, like the Sims.
You're the mayor of the city, sir. Raise the taxes. We need more roads. Now people are mad at you. Well, they want roads, but they don't want to pay taxes. How am I
supposed to...
Roller Coaster Tycoon, the movie.
Yeah.
Still waiting for Monopoly the movie to come out.
Adventure Capitalist, the movie.
I mean, fuck it. They made a Battleship the movie. Come on now.
God.
How? I know.
They made Rock'em Sock'em Robots the movie. It was called something else, but it was Rock'em Sock'em Robots.
They made that was Iron Fist or some
it
shit.
had Hugh Jackman in it.
Yeah. No. They honestly. Okay, here's another one of those gameception things. They made Battleship the movie based off of Battleship the board game, and they made Battleship the video game based off of Battleship the movie. So is the video game hence based off of the board game? Like, or is it just solely based off the movie? Like, can we say that it's Battleship the board game, the video game? Because it's based off the movie, based off the board game, or is it just Battleship the movie, the game? Like, it's such a dilemma. Like,
you know, the only thing
it's like, what's the last digit in pi? Nobody knows.
Yeah, the only thing I remember about Battleship the movie was that when it was coming out, we were living in Las Vegas, and there was this Subway. There was a Subway, the sandwich restaurant around the corner from where I worked, and I just remember going there with my friend Robin, and we would get these Subway sandwiches, and the cups had, you know, like the peel and win for Battleship the movie. And I remember peeling off one of my cups, and it was like, you win like 2 free tickets to this movie. And I said, here you go, Robin. I'm like,
Merry Christmas.
I'm like, I have no interest in seeing this movie.
Well, I was racking my brain to think of, are there good games based off of movies? And I remember one that I really liked from a long time ago, from like 2000 maybe, or 2001. And it was Alien versus Predator, the game. And in it, you could play as an alien, as a predator, or as a colonial marine. It was a 3D shooter.
Oh, was it the first-person shooter one?
Yeah. It was from forever ago.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. Because there was also one that was a real-time strategy called Alien versus Predator Extinction.
Oh yeah, I didn't play that.
Now,
one.
Arguably, those are based off of the comic books and not the movie. Although the movie did come out
the comic
before.
books are kind of based on the movies, so it's another.
No. The movies are based on the comic books. The comic books were out way before the movies.
Well, no, Alien wasn't based on a comic book, was it?
No, I'm just saying Alien versus Predator.
Yeah, okay, yeah, those were like the Dark Horse comics I remember from the 90s, right?
Yeah, because when I watched that movie in theaters, I had to deal with people around me going, "That doesn't happen in the comics. How come it's happening in the movie?"
Yeah, that's the problem. Anytime you change formats, people get pissed about it.
And speaking of that,
and I tried not to be butthurt about all the crap Peter Jackson did to Tolkien stuff, but at the end of the day, I felt like the Hobbit movies were actually bad movies. Like, it wasn't just that they were bad adaptations.
Yeah, they weren't just bad representations.
They were just bad films in general.
One of the very few movies I've seen on opening night in a theater is is Evil Dead, the newer one. And I am a hardcore fan of the original, The Evil Dead. And I sat in the theater, and I minded my tongue very well. But every time something would happen, there were these two girls sitting like 4 seats down from me, and they're like, "That's not right. No, it should be this way. This is what happened in the original one." And I'm like, "Shut the fuck up and let me wallow in my misery by myself, okay?"
Why would you remake it if you just want the first one again? No reason to remake it. Why do we have these remakes?
And honestly, it's one of those movies I say it suffers from titleitis. If they didn't call it Evil Dead, it would have been an okay movie. It's by no means a good movie, but just having that title of The Evil Dead makes it even worse. And that's the same thing with a lot of these video game movies. Super Mario Brothers, the movie, by no means was it a good movie. But if you take away Super Mario, if you would have named the movie fucking, Dino Hatton or whatever the city that they go to is called,
Plumbers in Space,
it would have been like, okay, this is a cheesy whatever. But because you call it Super Mario Brothers the movie, people were like, "This isn't Super Mario Brothers. But where's the castle? Where's the red jumpsuit?" It doesn't make any fucking sense.
If it wasn't based off the video game, it wouldn't have been made.
Yeah, nobody would have went and seen it anyway.
Yeah, it would have been like a B movie made in somebody's basement.
Yeah. Well, and I was just looking at IMDb just to try and remind myself of some of these films, and a lot of them were not only nominated for awards but won awards. These terrible video game movies, like Super Mario, actually was nominated for best. No, they weren't Academy Awards, but they were some kind of awards. But they were best makeup.
Well, that's what Suicide Squad won an Oscar for. The Oscar-winning movie Suicide Squad won for best makeup.
It's
Force Awakens was nominated for best sound design. And I thought its sound design was like some of the worst I've heard in an action movie. Its sound design was terrible. And I'm like, I got to believe that there's nobody at the helm. There's nobody leading this ship. We don't know. We're going into an iceberg when it comes to the Academy Awards.
And that's another set of actually really good video games for the Super Nintendo. Was actually the Super Star Wars, Super Empire Strikes Back, and Super Return of the Jedi.
Actually, that's a great point. Those were fantastic.
There have been a decent amount of Star Wars, good Star Wars games.
They took the story and really blew it up to giant size. And made it like an epic experience, an epic video game.
And you can really say that most Star Wars video games have been very good. I can say the vast majority of Star Wars games are very good.
And then you have Star Wars video games like
games in the 90s,
like Rebel Assault 2, which actually kind of feels like you're part of one of the movies.
Mm-hmm. Again, you're not God Emperor of Star Wars. You're some pissant, In the Super Nintendo games, you're Luke. And that's cool. That's the first game that I played with a lightsaber, and you had these cool Force actions. I loved that game. But you look at Jedi Academy, that has nothing to. It's all extended universe, and arguably one of the greatest games of all time, Knights of the Old Republic. That's a Star Wars IP. Of course, it's not based on the films whatsoever, but it is based on the lore. Now, if they just went back, just make that game canon. Maybe we can save Star Wars.
I said this is I'd be way interested in a KOTOR movie, right? Because there's a strong story there. There's a great reveal with Darth Revan and the whole bit. It's like it would make a great movie. Or they're going back and they're making Rogue One.
Well, it's already out.
I know. They made it. Yeah, and they're making a Han Solo movie. I don't give a...
Okay,
why,
hold on.
Why do we care about prequels of that kind?
They're making a Han Solo movie. Is it based off of the novel Death Troopers?
Is that the one where where Han and Chewie are fighting zombies or something?
Yes. There's
If it is, then I might want to see it.
There is
I would
a canon Star Wars novel called, what did I just call it?
Death something.
Death Troopers. And it's actually the only time in the Star Wars universe where Han and Chewie were actually captured and arrested by the Empire. And this prison ship collides with an Imperial Star Destroyer somewhere in space where it's not supposed to be. And actually, the Star Destroyer has been infected with this zombie virus. And Han Solo, Chewbacca, and a couple, convicts are fighting zombies in space. It's awesome.
That was about the point where LucasArts was like, yeah, fuck it, we'll just throw zombies in this now. We've got enough money at this point.
Yeah, there's actually a sequel to it. There are 2 Star Wars zombie novels.
It's like the
didn't Disney go back and say that these novels are no longer canon?
Yeah, they said they made some statement. They're like, we're no longer gonna. The EU doesn't count anymore.
Disney can go suck a mouse tit. Okay.
Which I actually thought that was cool when they did that. I'm like, awesome. You're going to be able to write a new, cool, original story without having to worry about what other people have written before you.
And then they wrote episode 8.
Force Awakens came out.
Whatever. They're on 8 now.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's not going to be any better than 7.
And fucking.
Yeah, every single day I have people come on my channel and tell me that it's like, oh man, but we got to look forward to episode 8. Episode 8 is going to be really good. I'm like, I have zero faith in episode 8.
I still have not seen.
You can't hate Force Awakens because it might get better with the next one. It's like, no, fuck you. This is a bad movie.
That makes no sense. That's like saying, hey, why don't you drink this diarrhea toilet water right now? But it'll be better when you follow it up with a beer.
I still
some chocolate cake to follow up on that shit.
I still have not seen Rogue One because of the impact, the negative impact of Episode 7. I want to see Rogue One, but at the same time, I've lost all passion. Look at the fucking shirt I'm wearing. It's Professor Vader explaining the Death Star mechanics. I love Star Wars, but I can't stand what they've done to the franchise in recent years.
Yeah, it's been bad, and I feel like there was so much originality outside of even the movies coming out of Star Wars for so long that it's really kind of crappy to see what's become of it under new management. Yeah. I would have loved to have seen a KOTOR movie, a movie set in the distant past, where we don't have an idea of what the outcomes will mean, where it's all new. A big flaw of the Episode 1, 2, 3 prequels is that we kind of knew their arrival point, and when they got to the end, and that's the problem with Rogue One. I'm like, let me let you in on the grand secrets of Rogue One. They deliver the Death Star plans.
Yeah. Well,
no, you spoiled it.
I don't know about you guys.
I had the same problem with Titanic. Titanic was the same way. It's like, well, the ship sinks at the end. And this is.
Have you ever played any of the Titanic video games?
Oh God!
What?
I saw the Titanic cartoon movie, but
yeah, there's some Titanic video games out there. They all look absolutely atrocious. But not as atrocious as Titanic, the animated musical, where you have a rapping dog.
Here's what I would do. Is I would buy the rights to make the Titanic video game. I would come out with the Titanic video game, and then that would be solely so I could make Titanic 2, The Uprising.
They're actually
Titanic 3, The Revenge.
Believe it or not, there is an unofficial sequel, the Titanic 2. My wife refused to let me buy it the one time I did see it in a store. She's like, no, you're not allowed. I'm like, but Titanic 2. She's like,
Titanic 2.
She's like, you put that down and you pick up Black Swan right now. And I was like, but she was like, no buts. I'm like, oh.
The Titanic 2 rises from the ocean with its mighty undead crew.
It goes from historical fantasy to urban horror.
It sounds like you're setting up the plot to like
That'd be amazing.
it's like Pirates of the Caribbean 17, the Titanic rises. Like,
yeah. Well,
there's Johnny Depp swigging rum at the Titanic's bar.
It'd be great. Fight your way through the ghosts of the Titanic.
Dude, how awesome would it be?
To the bowels of the ship where Satan lives. And the loot pops out.
You're like going through the 9 circles of hell, and they're all like decks on like a boat and everything. Like,
how awesome would it be? Like the Pirates of the Caribbean 17, the Titanic rises, and like the end of the movie is just Johnny Depp sitting at the bar talking to the bartender from The Shining, like.
Well, then, what I was thinking of is about the time the prequel trilogy came out was this big discussion. Like Mass Effect was huge. Everyone was really into Mass Effect, and I remember a bunch of reviewers saying Mass Effect is the new Star Wars because Star Wars is shit. So we can all look forward to this amazing universe that Mass Effect
and we see how
created.
Mass Effect has come along.
Exactly. It's because you put that much pressure on something and then it just turns to shit.
oh yeah.
This is another problem, and this is probably beyond the scope of this particular chat. But as you gather more fans, as you put more people into the basket of fan, you end up wanting to serve too many interests. And you end up kind of shooting yourself in the foot for what you end up delivering. And Mass Effect 2 is a great example. Mass Effect 1 had a gameplay style and a storytelling style that was really good for what it was and really unique. It had the BattleTech heat system for your weapons, which was really awesome to have in a cover-based shooter. I really enjoyed that. And then Mass Effect 2, they're like, people may not have liked this heat-based system. Let's go back to playing the game of find ammo after every single encounter. All right. And it took a big step backwards. It simplified a lot of things because it was trying to put more people in the basket, and it did. And so by the time you get to Mass Effect 3, there's a bunch of people in the basket that weren't in that first basket to begin with. And you stop caring about the old fans and keep delivering what they really liked. And you just try to deliver what will satisfy, to a certain extent, the majority of people. Like you give everybody a hamburger instead of a couple people a steak. And that's kind of what ends up happening as something becomes more successful. So with Dragon Age, same thing.
I mean, I'm the weird person here. I actually prefer a hamburger to a steak, but that's just me.
I do too, but that's just the metaphor. I actually prefer hamburgers, but that's just the metaphor I think of. Is like, it's something easy to make that everyone is kind of okay with. That ends up being a better. Of course, it's going to make more money because if you're selling both for the same amount, but you end up kind of diluting your product.
Now, here's another, we want to talk about missed opportunity, is when we were all kids, there were tons and tons of video games based on TV shows, right? So you had like Rescue Rangers, I thought Rescue Rangers was an awesome game. You had all the, DuckTales. You had all the like Mickey Mouse games.
All the Ninja Turtle games.
The Ninja Turtle games, because all those are based on TV. And that worked great because TV's episodic. Video games at the time were basically episodic based on their levels. Now, because again, I was talking about the demographic shift, because now the majority of gamers are 30 plus, you're looking at, well, what would you make games out of as an adult? Well, then you're also compounding that issue with the fact that Hollywood is out of creative anything, and so anything that comes out in the video game world is 1,000 times more creative than what you're going to see on a television show today. So, anything on TV I could think of that would be like marginally interesting as a video game has already been done 15 years ago and 1,000 times better.
Oh yeah,
in a video game.
Now to kind of bring this full circle and to a close. I want to ask each person what your favorite movie based off of a video game is, which actually mine is something I have yet to mention. It's a very short movie. I believe it was initially supposed to be a pilot episode for a TV show, but it was actually the short movie that came with the video game for the NES, Monsters in My Pocket. It came with a 30-minute movie based off of the game with, the vampire and the monster trying to prevent the other monsters from taking over this town or something. I loved it. I mean, I have very fond memories of childhood watching this day in and day out. I unfortunately don't have a copy of it anymore, but I'm sure I can find it on YouTube or somewhere on the internet with no problem. But, like, to me, that was my favorite movie based off of a video game ever. Paul?
For me, actually, it's kind of a weird question because there are movies that kind of take place between games if you have like multiple games and everything. I remember when I was younger, I was really into the Dot Hack series, and there were these movies that took place like in between each one. I thought they were pretty well done. I thought they were pretty interesting. I have to say, I didn't hate the first Silent Hill film. I thought that was pretty decently done.
Matt, what do you think?
I'm gonna have to. I mean, I'm gonna have to go with KOTOR. I gotta go with Knights of the Old Republic, even though it's not really based on a movie. It's based on a movie IP, and honestly, it's one of my favorites.
What about a movie?
What about a movie based on the game, though?
The reverse.
Oh shoot!
Obviously, Super Mario Brothers, but your second one. After that.
We'll give you a minute, Matt. We'll have Dave. Dave, what do you think? What's your favorite movie based off a game?
I actually think it's that first Resident Evil movie. I thought it was a really effective movie at the time. I thought it did a lot of things right as a movie. Yeah, it's not a great movie. It's got a lot of cheese to it, but I ended up really enjoying it. So that was probably going to be the one. And I realize now why I enjoyed it. It's because they didn't approach it like we need to hit every single dot and T that's in this game, make it aesthetically and story-wise exactly like the game, because then it would have failed. They did their own thing with it.
Well, I mean, and as a plus, you get Mila Jovovich in that tight red dress, and you got Michelle Rodriguez in the movie. I mean, how can you go wrong?
Yeah, it was a good action movie and a good horror movie, and it used the medium of movies correctly. And probably did what I would recommend, I guess, if other people wanted to make a video game movie, is take the setting and then use that setting to then create a new original fun story.
So Matt, coming back to you.
Okay. I got different reasons, but I'm going to have to say that the very first Mortal Kombat movie
I love that movie.
was probably going to be my favorite, and it's not because it's good, but
it has Highlander as Raiden.
It has, yeah, Highlander as Raiden. But I just remember as a kid, it's the video game movie that I think of most, and it's mostly because of this fight between Scorpion and Sub-Zero that happens like halfway through the movie.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it's what everyone watched the movie to see, because when you play the game, like inevitably you and your next door neighbor, one of you played Sub-Zero, the other one played Scorpion, and you just like bashed your faces against each other when you played this game together. So I remember that my mom actually made my neighbor friend and I Scorpion and Sub-Zero Halloween costumes one year.
That's
so. Like there's pictures of me somewhere in this
that
Scorpion
is awesome.
mask.
Your mom is awesome.
Well, and it's funny because Mortal Kombat is also one of those series that has spawned so many series based off of it. You have the original 2 movies. You have an animated TV show. You have a CGI pilot for a TV show that was never completed. You have a live-action TV show. And then you have the more recent internet show, Mortal Kombat. It's actually really good, the first season.
The acting's terrible, but the action's good, so that's all that matters.
Yeah, but I mean, like, it has spawned so many series, like, in film and TV. It's actually kind of funny how successful it has been in being terrible.
Yeah. Well, and I think, like we were saying, I think it did fan service right. There's a lot of really good fan service. It has the tournament. It has the characters fighting each other. You have kind of this vague idea of the character alignments. There's a new Mortal Kombat out now for PlayStation and Xbox, where they have this voice acted dialogue that reveals some lore of the characters before you enter a battle, and that's the other thing I was going to say about the movie is the movie doesn't pull any punches. It's basically gameplay. It's people fighting and killing each other, and like basically animated gore, you know? So while I don't think it was a good movie, I remember it fondly for how much I enjoyed it, especially like Sub-Zero freezing dudes and like smashing their faces.
That's what it's all about.
But yeah, that's so I think the conclusion that we have come to is that when it comes to video game movies based off of video games, a lot of times it's a product that's rushed to capitalize on a popular game series, and because of that, they try to throw in a lot of fan service. Because they don't want to turn off the fans of the series, but at the same time, because they rush it, it ends up doing that anyway.
Yeah, I just want to say, like, nowadays, like, with the way video games are, there's no reason to even make a movie because, like, with like, in between scenes, in between gameplay, it's like basically watching a movie as it is, like the way graphics have become. Like, people always say to me, oh, they should make a Metal Gear Solid movie. I'm like, have you played Metal Gear Solid 4? It's basically just a movie.
Yeah, it's like 2 hours of gameplay and 10 hours of CG.
Why is it Final Fantasy 13 a movie? It's like, it is a movie.
It is,
the movie,
yeah.
In between the movie, you're battling things.
You're grinding mobs. Like someone actually on YouTube put all the cutscenes together from Final Fantasy.
It's a 20-hour movie, I think.
Yeah, it's stupid long.
It's kind of
Well, I remember watching Avatar and someone saying, "Oh my God, it's so beautiful how they made these like floating islands." I was like, "Have you been to Nagrand in World of Warcraft? Because I can live render things on my computer better than what came out on the screen."
I fucking hate Avatar. So much.
Well, then you're in good company.
Yeah,
good chat. I hate it.
Like that.
And they're making like 5 more of those movies. You know that, right?
Oh
I could talk for like hours about my hatred of that film. James Cameron, greatest director of sequels ever, but Avatar just.
Oh my God!
Just
so fucking. It's a Smurfs in space.
It's Romeo and Juliet. That's all it fucking is. It's Romeo and Juliet and with pretty visuals. Oh, look, we did 3D. Oh, look. Yeah, I play fucking PlayStation 2. I see shit like that all the time.
I like to burn it more than that. I'm like, this is fucking Fern Gully, you guys.
Yeah, it's literally Fern Gully. It's a ripoff of Fern Gully, or it's Dances with Wolves meets Fern Gully with blue aliens.
And it's the typical Romeo and Juliet storyline, and people praise the fuck out of it because they're like, oh, it's this love between man and nature and this and that. And I'm like, but you guys ripped fucking Underworld apart because you were like, oh, it's just Romeo and Juliet with vampires and werewolves. Yeah, but it had good fucking action.
Exactly.
Yeah, but Underworld was good.
Exactly.
Underworld was good. I liked those movies. That Kate Beckinsale, and she was hot.
Exactly.
Yes.
I think that was the director's wife, by the way. I'm trying to remember. I think that was another one where he like cast his wife in the lead role. I'm like, usually this doesn't work out, guys, but
this time it did. See, that's we should watch those actually. For Riders of the Dawn, that's.
But yeah, Avatar is a whole nother can of worms.
They just released the final final Underworld movie. I think it's called Blood Wars. So that would probably be a good one.
I'll check that one out.
How many were there? 4? 3?
There were a decent amount of them.
I think there's like 5 of them.
Yeah, I think there were like.
Yeah, I think it was the 5th one.
There's a prequel. There's a prequel in there too.
Yeah, Rise of the Lycans. That's the 3rd one.
And then there was a prequel, and then there was one more. I thought so. Yeah, 5.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's been awesome. I mean, we covered a lot of video game movies. There's more out there that we didn't talk about.
People keep telling me that they should make a Legend of Zelda game. I'm like, why would you do that? Like, you should just kill yourself right now.
I am absolutely loving Breath of the Wild. Please don't ruin that experience by making a movie out of it.
It would not satisfy anybody, not fans of the game nor people who've never played the game. It would just be crap. They'd have Link talk and.
That would be a great thing to talk about another time. Like, what video game we want to see as a movie. But again, that's a chat for another time. So I hope everyone's enjoyed this. We loved having you guys on, Matt and Dave. Thank you very much.
For having us on.
Yeah, it was awesome.
So until next time, friends, be brave, be alive, and be back for more.